Hey, welcome back everybody to the channel, and if this is your first time tuning in, I would appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button, and if you ring the bell, you'll receive notifications of future videos. So, for those of you that have been watching the channel, you probably have noticed the apiary is slowly expanding. And speaking of expansions, more so for the newer viewers, this is what I plan on getting into today. So I'm going to try and make these videos as interesting as possible and not too lengthy, but I'm going to be out here for a little bit because if we look down the line here, hive number 1, the very last hive, the furthest away, still has a honey super on, so I'll be checking on that. The next hive, the second hive, which is actually hive 6, that was a split I made last week, and there's some pretty nice activity on the front porch, so I'll be interested to see if the queen has hatched, made it, returned, and started to lay. The third hive is actually hive number 2. They've been expanding like crazy, and part of my plans with expansion and winter prep, I'm going to be feeding all the hives once I have the honey supers off with the 1 gallon division board feeders there. Those are new ones. I have some old ones that I've used in the past in the tote. And when I insert the division board feeder for the established colonies, I'm going to give them a brand new medium super. When I say brand new, I'm talking about the foundation. So that'll give them space to work, which will also hopefully prevent swarming. And the second and third order effect that I have in mind is the queen can expand the brood chamber into the super. I'm not going to put a queen excluder on, and whatever food they store will act as their winter food stores. So we're talking about 3. So if we go down here to number 4, 4 has a honey super on as well. Depending how that looks, if I remember right from last week, it wasn't looking too great, so I might shuffle a few frames down to number 1 if they still need time as well, and maybe the bees of hive number 1 will finish capping whatever super frames number 4 is working. Or I'm sorry, number 3. Yeah. And then when we go down here to the first nuke, that's actually hive number 4. I moved them around last week, so they're kind of in chronological order. Hive number 4 has been doing just fine. That was the very first queen that I marked. I have made the decision already based off of last week and then having some equipment to do so. I'm going to be putting them into a 10 frame. And then number 5 was a split I made a few weeks ago before I left town for a work trip. But they have a mated queen. I marked her last week, and they might be ready to go into a 10 frame as well. I might just do that anyway. So when you have multiple hives and you start making splits and moving things around left and right, you know, it does get a little confusing. A handful of hives is pretty easy to manage and keep track of what's what, but moving forward, it also with future plans, pick this up from Lowe's. You can get it from Walmart too. It's like, I think this was like maybe close to $3. Walmart has it for a little cheaper. But because the hives, not all the hives are in chronological order, I'm going to start labeling them. I'm just going to put a number in the top right corner of the brood chamber. So you'll have 1, 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then once the supers come off, hives 1 and 3, I'm going to use those to make some splits. So they're going to be in all sorts of different chronological order, but the numbers will help keep me straight with which hive is what. Alright, so this is going to be a separate video as far as the intro for this week's plans. I do appreciate everybody tuning in and watching it. One last look of the mess out here. And then here's something else. These frames, I just ran, this is a 50-pound test fishing line, which is a little, thicker if you don't know anything about fishing line. Nothing fancy, just ran it through the holes, tied it a few times, and I'm gonna have this on hand for, I don't think I'll be catching any swarms this type of year, but after I make some splits, if any of the hives produce queen cells, I may just use the 5-frame nuke there, and actually the other nukes, since I'll have those available once I put them in back into a 10 frame. I might just use those keep those over in this area somewhere as like maybe mating nukes, or I don't know, just to have on hand, I guess. But yeah, one last look at everything that's going on this week. So yeah, I'll upload this video. I'll probably upload this tomorrow, and then the weekly inspection videos, I usually start posting Hive 1 on Monday, Hive 2 on Tuesday, so on and so forth. But yeah, just wanted to give you all a quick look at future plans, and I might add, yeah, you know what, since I'm saying it, I'll add the directions I found online, how to make these bottom boards. I'll add these to our Facebook page under the menu section, which I have other directions for how to build swarm traps and some other stuff, in addition to the migratory lids, which very crude design but functional. I'm not out here trying to make fantastic equipment. I had some much needed help from my neighbor who has all sorts of tools and everything, and I really appreciate it, especially since he's moving far away soon, for him to take the time and, you know, help me out with making some equipment and everything. Because whether you know this or not, Man Lake is having well, their bottom boards are on back order because of some wood shortage or something, they said. So I had some on order. That's actually where these division board feeders came from, which I do like this design compared to the old design that I believe I bought from Brushy Mountain, who went out of business November of 18, I believe. Yeah, so they came in super quick like usual. The bottom boards didn't show up. Ended up contacting Man Lake, and that's when they told me they're experiencing a shortage and the bottom boards are on back order, which doesn't really work considering it's already mid-July, and if you're trying to make splits, you want to give them the majority of the summer to get right and healthy rolling into the winter. Okay, super long intro. Maybe one last look at the colonies. Nice activity. I don't know if I mentioned the weather or not, but it's approaching 80 degrees. Feels like it's in the mid-90s. The humidity has been over 90% for the last week, all day long, and it does feel like it. And I'm already kind of worn out, having lugged all this stuff back into the bee yard. So yeah, I'll be checking on hive number 1 and hive number 3, the honey supers. I might move some stuff around if I need to. The second hive, that was a split. I'm not going to do much with that. Hive number 2, I did notice, has been bearding heavily in the evening, mainly because of the heat, and I believe they're becoming overpopulated. So they're in much need of a honey super to give them space, like I talked about. 3, same thing as before. Check on the super. If I move a few frames from the super down to 1, I'll just remove the honey, the queen excluder, and let them work the super as an extension of the brood chamber. And then 4 and 5, I think I'm going to move into a 10 frame, and then in a week or so I'll give them a super, because they'll have 5 frames to work, and then maybe in the next week or so they'll be ready for more space. Okay, longer intro than I anticipated, but sometimes when you get talking about bees and future plans, it's easy to keep rambling. So, like usual, enough me yapping. Let's get into the bees. Thanks for checking out the channel. We're also on Instagram and Facebook. Coles Farm, C-O-L-E-S, Farm, N-C for North Carolina. We'll get you to the pages. And one last thing, if you're local to the Jacksonville, North Carolina area, we will have honey available at the end of the month. That's my final answer to people that have been asking. So again, I'm going to check on the supers. If they're not right this week, they should be good by next week to where I can harvest them. I'll make a quick video, bottle them, and they'll be ready for purchase. All right, thanks again everybody for watching. Long intro for this week's activities, but as you can see, one last time, got a few things going on here. All right, check out each hive's inspection video this week, and if you like it, please hit the thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, receive notifications of future videos, and follow us along on our beekeeping journey.